Welcome back, listeners, to a brand new episode of The New Standard. And again, I am doing this show alone because we've assigned Neil Coulong to go out and create an AI bot that will call plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's called Black and Gold AI. So if you don't see Neil for a couple of weeks, Neil is out trying to create Black and Gold AI. But always, if you want to participate in the program, make sure you like and subscribe. Go to YouTube, do a search for The New Standard and Lance Williams and or Neil Coulong. And however you get your podcast, do a search for The New Standard and you can find us there. On this particular episode, you might be asking yourself, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to dive into? And if you are subscribed to the channel, you've been seeing a lot of shorts that I've been doing. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to summarize the shorts on the Wednesday show and give some more specificity, give a little more meat to what we're talking about in the 15 seconds in the shorts. Every once in a while, we'll mix in a topical show as well that just focuses on that and not what we talked about in the shorts. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to put a lot more shorts out. We're going to talk about those shorts in summary on a Wednesday program. We're going to hit topical stuff and big news items. Like, for instance, the Steelers are interviewing Arthur Smith. Like, the Steelers were to hire Arthur Smith, we'll talk about that. And that's kind of how we'll run it in this business season. We'll also talk about, along with coaching, hire, free agent signing, so on and so forth. But we're going to start bringing you a lot more content, particularly in the form of shorts. So let me jump into one of the first shorts I talked about this week. And it was entitled, Hey Stupid, QBs Matter. And I wasn't calling anyone in Steeler Nation stupid. I wasn't calling anyone stupid. I was just saying, hey, stupid, quarterbacks matter, sort of just rhetorically. That, particularly when you look at the NFC and AFC championship and you look at the caliber of quarterbacks that played in those, and we'll just keep it on the AFC side. When you look at a Lamar Jackson, presumptive MVP, and you look at a Patrick Mahomes, already an all-time great, quarterback play matters. And you're going to have to find consistent quarterback play, in my opinion, in the top 10. Like, I think you're going to need to have a top 10 quarterback to win a Super Bowl. If not, you're going to have an incredibly talented roster like a San Francisco 49er team. And it's very hard to build that type of roster because typically to build that type of roster, you need a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract, or you need some type of cap cost control to allow you to re-sign and retain, the type of players that you would need to elevate a quarterback that's not in the top 10. So for you to win Super Bowls, in my opinion, you have to have your quarterback carry the load. He has to be a driver of the car, not a passenger. And when we're talking about the Steelers, regardless, and we're going to talk about Rudolph and Kenny Pickett, regardless of what you think about either and whether either should be the starter moving forward, and there's rumors that the Steelers have said they want to re-sign Mason Rudolph. And I'm going to say this, full disclosure. If Mason Rudolph is the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 2024-25 season, I'm not going to do the show again. And the reason I would not do the show anymore if he was the quarterback, because there's no future in that. Like MC Breed said back in the day, there's no future in your fronting. That's fronting, and there's no future in it. You don't want to develop an offense around Mason Rudolph's strengths. Come on, man. He doesn't have strengths. He's a journeyman. So if you start Mason Rudolph, I'm not doing the show anymore. And it'll hurt me to not talk about Steeler football and have the interaction that I have with you guys. But if they start Mason Rudolph, I'm out of here. And again, listeners, you're checking out the new standard. But bottom line, quarterbacks matter, particularly in a division where you have Burrow and Lamar Jackson, and in a conference where you have Herbert now being coached by one of the Harbaughs. You have C.J. Stroud, who's emerged, Trevor Lawrence, and a whole host of others on the AFC side. You're going to need elevated, consistent, superior quarterback play. So that's why we did the short, hey, stupid, quarterbacks matter. And you know why quarterbacks matter as well? Another way to just to describe that is because Steeler Nation is so put it like this. I'll say it this way. Steeler Nation, they ain't dated in a while. And because they haven't dated in a while, because they haven't had a young lady or a young man say to them, "Are you cute, my boo?" Like that, like because any riz will work on Steeler Nation. Like Steeler Nation, Mason Rudolph is just trying to put his riz on the Steeler Nation. Steeler Nation knows that Mason Rudolph can't be your future. That's why we did a short called "You're Crazy as Hell If You Think Mason Rudolph Is That Dude." And that just tells you where quarterback play has been for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last 3 seasons. If you think Mason Rudolph is that dude in this arms race called the AFC Armed Forces Conference, where you got a couple of two-time MVPs, Patrick Mahomes that might be an all-time great by the end of it. You got a Herbert, you got all these other dudes, Mason Rudolph. You really think Mason Rudolph is that dude? You really think that the Steelers, when they're out interviewing offensive coordinators, should be trying to build a system for Mason Rudolph to be your guy? If Mason Rudolph is the Steelers starter next year, again, they are treading water. And I'm not going to do the show. So that's why we did the short, "You're Crazy as Hell If You Think Mason Rudolph Is That Dude." Now, another short we did, and I asked the question, and I think this one is a little more complex. And it's describe Kenny Pickett in one word. And you guys had some very interesting words to describe Kenny Pickett. But I think the best one came from a longtime listener, Gabrielle of the program. And I want to read what Gabrielle said about Kenny Pickett. He said, "Pickett is the average looking chick who hangs around with the butt uglies. That way she almost seems pretty. His last minute heroics aren't real because the first 3 quarters he digs the hole he has to rescue his team from." Let's concentrate and thank you, Gabe gave you Jordan, GUG in the place to be. Thank you for the first part of this day because this is hilarious. Pickett is the average looking chick who hangs out with butt uglies. That way she almost seems pretty. I know I asked for one word to describe Kenny Pickett, but I'm going to say this. That phrase probably better describes Kenny Pickett than anything that I could say. And we also did a short around asking for the strengths of Kenny Pickett. Like, what are his strengths? And I'm telling you, it was a struggle. It was a struggle to get people to identify strengths outside of poise, and he makes plays in the fourth quarter. And I'm going to tell you this. As much as I don't think Mason Rudolph is the dude, I don't necessarily think Kenny Pickett is the dude either. But what I will say is, and we talked about this in the short as well, about did Matt Canada stunt Kenny Pickett's development? And I think so. And that's why, although I don't think Kenny Pickett is the dude, I think it's very hard to evaluate Kenny Pickett in the system that he was asked to play. Because I think offensive systems, are supposed to provide easy answers for your quarterback. Easy answers. All quarterbacks are scheme quarterbacks. The elite ones are guys who can operate out of structure. But I think a scheme is supposed to help a player, help give a guy clean, defined reads. And then it's on the quarterback to execute them. I don't think when you look at Canada's offense, that offense did it. I don't think it made it easier for the quarterback. I don't think it gave Kenny Pickett or it gives Kenny Pickett or it gave Kenny Pickett clear, easy, defined reads. Nothing was easy in that system. Nothing was easy. That's why when you look at teams like the San Francisco 49ers, guys are running wide open. The scheme is getting guys open with talent, and you're asking a quarterback with physical limitations like a Brock Purdy just to set the table and execute. They need a system that is going to enhance Kenny Pickett, enhance whatever strengths they've identified as his strengths. I have not identified anything as his strength other than he's got nice hair. I mean, Kenny's got nice locks. To me, when I think of Kenny, I think of what longtime listener of the program, Corey Hatcher. And big up to Corey and big up to everybody out there listening to the program. Please like and subscribe to the program. And you're checking out this week's episode, The New Standard. It's a fine line between drinking wine and squashing grapes. And Corey Hatcher, I respect Corey's opinion. I asked Corey a lot of questions on X because Corey is currently a high school football coach. And I asked him about, what does Pickett do well? What are his strengths? And he said, I really thought about it. Quote, he's mobile, but not extraordinary. And this goes back to his strengths and the one word to describe what he is. He said he's mobile, but not extraordinarily. He has a good arm, but not a cannon. He's not extremely accurate, but it's not terrible. He is literally a mid-ass quarterback that in the right system could look decent, or if he was surrounded by truly gifted players on O-line and skill positions, he could have a decent career. I can't say it any better. If you want to describe Kenny Pickett in one word, I think it's brilliant. Mid. He is not a high-level traits guy. He doesn't do anything particularly well. And I think one thing he doesn't do well, I think his pocket presence is bad, and his pocket movement is really immature, and it's really bad. And I think being in a Canada system, he needed a system to give him some easy answers. And I think Canada and Sullivan didn't get Pickett better. So, and this goes back to another short we did about my plan to fix the Steelers offense. And Slow Boss laughed at me when I said just simply, put Kenny Pickett in an offense that maximizes his strengths. That's one. Two, put him in an offense that emphasizes under center play action on early downs. Play action, particularly on early downs, it helps your pass protection and it helps give you clear, defined reads. Kenny needs a system that's going to define the reads for him, and they need a lot of play action under center. That's why I'm excited about Arthur Smith. That the Arthur Smith interview, I'm excited. We'll see what happens with that, but absolutely excited that they're looking at Arthur Smith to be that next coordinator. And so the plan to fix the coordinator is just simple. Find one that you think is going to enhance Kenny's strengths. Identify what you think his strengths are. find a system and or a play caller who is going to maximize those strengths. And you frame that around a way that you want to operate and win and play football. So your philosophy will help you define who you want for coordinator. And within that, hopefully that coordinator can maximize Kenny Pickett's strengths. That sounds easy from a fat guy in a podcast saying it. Much easier. But what I'm really happy with now is the Steelers are casting a very wide net and shopping for an offensive coordinator, that they are taking their time. They are putting a lot of thought into it, into identifying this next guy. Because while they've got Kenny Pickett on a rookie contract, they've got to finish the assessment of him. And I'll say this, if they bring back Mason Rudolph, that's the answer of how they feel about Kenny Pickett. If they bring back Mason Rudolph, they don't think Kenny Pickett is the guy. They absolutely do not think he's the guy if they bring him back. Because, you can't have Mason Rudolph, in my opinion, and Kenny Pickett on the same roster. I think you can't do that. And given the 3 Ps, performance, pay, pedigree, I don't think you can do that. And I think that creates a problem. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do if they offer Mason Rudolph a contract. But you got to find a system that emphasizes his strengths, that's going to maximize his strengths and reduce his weaknesses. And I would love for the Steelers to get back to some more under center play action, a lot like the Lions do, and really challenge defenses on early downs. Give him clear, defined reads that are being created through the system. So that's my plan to fix the offense. Is find a coordinator that you think is going to maximize Kenny's strength and is going to work well with Kenny. That's what you do. That's what you do. You find that guy and you maximize Kenny's strengths. There's a lot going on right now, and we're going to do another show because Neil gave me a topic as after he was taking a break from programming the black and gold AI that's going to be used to call plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. We're going to put down and distance situations, and they're going to do it in real time, and we're just going to trust the AI to call the plays. No gut feel, no nothing, simply AI. And we're going to talk about how different this season was for the Steelers in regards to a variety of different things, like one being they actually fired an offensive coordinator halfway through the season. So that's one thing. And we're going to talk about a couple of things that were struck me as very odd. One news item is being reported that Terrell Austin is going to be signing a 2-year, or I don't know if it's a 2-year extension, but he's going to be signing an extension as the defensive coordinator. I have no issues with that. I think the defense is solid enough. I think the defense plays good enough football to allow you to contend for a world championship. I think it does it. I think it plays well enough to allow you to compete on that side of the ball. They get sacks. They do some creative things on defense. And I think the defense needs a 3-down backer in the middle of the field and another corner. If they could add another corner in free agency, take one of those corners from Kansas City. But I think all those guys, those young guys are under contract. I think Snead might be a free agent. But if you can get a free agent corner as your number 1A corner along with Joey Porter, that would go great with that defense. And I think if you could add a 3-down linebacker, because I think their inside linebacker position is a little bit light. So let me summarize this before we conclude the program. Describe Kenny in one word: mid. I think that's the best word. Did Matt Canada stunt Kenny Pickett's development? Absolutely. Absolutely. Did not put him in a system that emphasized his strengths or made it easy for him to operate. What are Kenny Pickett's strengths? I'm just going to say I think his strength is poise. I don't think he has any physical strengths. Like Corey said, he's a mid guy across the board. Love that the Steelers are shopping for an OC. Love that they are getting out of their comfort zone and looking for someone with fresh ideas who will make defenses play at a disadvantage. What's my plan to fix the Steeler offense? Find a system that maximizes Kenny's strengths. And I do think you're crazy as hell if you think Mason Rudolph is that dude. And the one thing that should have showed you over the course of the championship games this past weekend, stupid. Quarterbacks matter. And the Steelers got to find one sooner than later. And with that, we're going to conclude the program. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.